Hello, and welcome to So Let's Talk About Music. I'm here today with Jaden Wright, Walker Isaacs, and Ashton Stonick, and they're here to talk about their radio station, or one of the shows that they do at 103.9 The Bulldog. They are from Whitesburg, the town of Whitesburg, and they kind of showcase local music. I'm going to be your host, David Michael Gallant. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here, and I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Jaden Wright, and I'll let my good friends here introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Walker Isaac, and thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I'm Ashton Stonick. I didn't expect to be redoing this.
Oh,
I really didn't.
We should probably let them know that we've been talking a lot before this, and we've been having a really, really good time. But today is actually a very special day for me because the purpose of this show is to spotlight different activities that are going on locally and make sure that people know what's going on in the music community. And what you guys are doing at this radio station is actually amazing. Could you guys elaborate on kind of the beginnings of the radio station and how it came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and start with that. With me and Ashton, we're in an internship program through a nonprofit organization, a local group called County Community Center. And basically that's an internship that brings in high schoolers from junior to graduating seniors in our local high school, and they bring them into different establishments in the county and let them get on-hand job experience and things that they're interested in. All the interns really get to pretty much pick where they want to go and work. And this was our second year doing it, or my second year, Ashton's first year doing it, and we were placed at the local radio station, 103.9 The Bulldog, and my mom worked there, so it kind of worked out for me because I could just go to work with her every day. And so basically the way that this internship worked is within the business with the Bulldog, the radio station, they made this agreement that we would get to do a certain amount of things on the radio station. One of those was to create a radio show. And the radio show was programmed to be in a few weeks, so we immediately got to work looking for an idea. And me and Ashton are both musicians. We played in a band together for a few years, and now we've kind of got some doing our own thing, writing our own music, just kind of as a duo. And we love music, and we wanted to showcase the talent and our friends that also love music. And where we're from is a place where there's festivals and a lot of live opportunities, but they're only once a year. And they're sometimes hard to get into because a lot of the acts that have been playing it for a while, they're local favorites and people love to hear them. And, they get to play, and there's no problem with that because we all love them too. But, the opportunities are very slim for when there's so many musicians, because we grew up in the middle of Appalachia where there's a lot of musicians growing up playing bluegrass and country and rock and roll, and everyone loves to showcase that. So the best way we saw fit to give back to our community was to create a show that showcases local musicians who wouldn't normally get the opportunity to showcase their music like all these performers get to. These are guys working 9 to 5, going to school, going to college, or going to high school, raising families who just love to play music and want the opportunity to showcase that. And so that's a big reason why we started the radio show, was to get that out there and to showcase that local talent.
That's amazing, and I think by doing that, there are a lot of unheard voices that you get to spotlight. And this radio station, this is a radio station where there's a lot of news, sports. You guys have sports, and you guys have a lot of listeners too. Talk to us a little bit about how you eventually got this radio show, how your relationship with the radio station, and also the viewership.
Yeah. Do you guys maybe want to talk about it, or I can?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So, well, at the time when we had started working there, really the main thing we were doing was editing, like radio spots and stuff, editing voices, condensing it down a little bit more for this air. And that's kind of what we mainly did for the first month or so. But then when the show came around, we sat down with the leader of 103.9 and his mom, and we talked all over the phone, like, what can we do for the show? Originally, we had the idea of doing like a show where we talked about like music we liked. But the thing is, there was kind of like strict that they wanted to really only go for this, like contemporary music. They didn't really want us to play anything outside of that broad reach. So that ended up not working out. So when we started doing the show, at the time with the internship, we also had to do every Thursday. We had to play at these local concerts. And if I remember our first show was actually during the one of those shows. We had to leave that.
Oh, yeah.
People were so upset, like, "Come on, we gotta work. So we gotta go do a radio show." And they're like, "Ah!" So we went there and we did it, and it was so awkward. Like
Yeah.
we were so new.
Yeah, we were. I remember our intro was the fellow we were interviewing, fantastic musician. His name was John Haywood, and we sat down. We're like, all right, we're ready to record. And he was like, "You want to introduce yourself?" He goes, "Hi, I'm John Haywood." And then me and Ashton looked at each other and was like, "Okay." So
A lot of the time, in between questions, I'd be like, "Yeah."
we we didn't know how to make transitions.
He's a very quiet guy.
Yeah.
He's cool. I talk to him all the time, but he's very quiet. And then we were very new to recording on the radio.
We're at that time when you guys started, you were talking about viewership being sometimes in the hundreds, sometimes in the thousands. Was it always consistent, or did you guys start to build viewership after that?
I would say we probably built,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I don't know. Firsthand looking at it, I really didn't pay attention a whole lot. So I would say it's definitely built.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. With especially too when we first started out, like I said, we didn't have a whole lot of time to advertise this. We made one advertisement, I think, that played for just like a week or so, and then the show started. And as I was talking to you before we started recording, people like in businesses, like ice cream parlors and like local grocery stores would just play the radio station, and they'd be listening while they shop, and they'd hear us interviewing somebody that was like their cousin or a good friend, and they'd call up their buddy and be like, "Hey, did you know so-and-so's on the air? They're getting interviewed right now." I'm like, "No, I'll tune in." And they start telling people, and that's kind of how it broadened out. And the community really plays an important role in that because they're playing the station at their establishments. That's the kind of bond they've built with the local radio station. And so it gets them talking about this new way to showcase music. And, we wanted to showcase strictly a lot of original music. A lot of the music we had was original. And we had a lot of cover stuff too, but we like to showcase local music because at least where we're from, original music is not so much advertised. A lot of, like I mentioned, festivals. A lot of these festivals want cover tunes people can dance to, people can sing along to. So advertising original music, something me and Ashton are both very fond of. We write and we have a good time listening to our friends' creations. That's something we wanted to showcase because you never know. I mean, to me, I would much rather go to a local show with my buddies playing his original tunes than pay $500 to go watch somebody in, I don't know, a festival miles from here to play something that's the same quality as my buddies writing. Just because they're local doesn't mean they're not as good. And that's another huge reason we started that show is that there's that mindset in local music that, you don't want to pay the $10 fee because this guy isn't famous or this guy isn't popular.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're not as talented because they're not popular. They just haven't been discovered yet.
And you guys are doing I think a really cool job of making sure that these people get known. Talk to us a little bit about the flood, this moment in time. Now, how it, and also, can you elaborate a little bit about the region where the radio station is in that location, so that we get a better understanding of where you guys are from?
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking too much, so I'll let these guys. But I'm sure we could all have something to say about the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, all three of us could, talk about that. Well, what happened was the summer that we started the show, there was a week where it just was nonstop rain, like heavy rain for like 4 days straight. And it was the night that episode was airing, but the radio station was down. The rain was just so bad. The station was down for like the last 2 days. What happened was that night the rain just got so bad that the creek rose to people's yards, and it just kept going up.
11 to 12 inches of rain in one night.
Wow.
Yeah, I slept through it. My neighbors, only one of my neighbors got flooded out, but I actually slept through it. I kept waking up not with my dogs barking, but I slept through it. But when I woke up, the road was gone. All the culverts were ripped out, and like you couldn't even get a four-wheeler through. And we walked in water. When we walked out, we actually was scared because we saw lines were in the water.
Oh my goodness.
Like our electricity lines was in the water. Luckily, of course, it was out, but that scared the heck out of us. We had been walking in that water.
And are you located? Are you located in an area where that the water has a way of, like, are you higher up in the mountains?
My house was when we're kind of built on a mountainside. My house is. We live in a trailer. So when we moved there, we actually made lines for the rain. Like we made little trenches so the water would go down. So we were kind of prepared just in case something like that happened. But other people, unfortunately, weren't. Because these flatter lands, you think, well, you're beside the creek, but you don't think that this stuff is going to happen, or at least rip your house off foundation. You know, where I live particularly, I live in Knott County, which is right on the line of Letcher County where Whitesburg is. And there a lot of people are living in trailers. And when that water came, it just kept rising. The foundation of them trailers went bye-bye. So a lot of people's houses were taken away.
That's scary. That's
Yeah.
scary stuff. And after that, the aftermath of that, I feel like the community gets together and they start rebuilding. And there's a similar event going on right now in Nebraska where a tornado hit. A tornado hit Nebraska, and they've been working together to try to remedy some of the damage. With that being said, though, and kind of coming back to the radio station, why do you think, these local ice cream parlors and these local businesses utilize the radio station potentially versus live streaming, something else, and how has that helped the community to broaden their horizons on art and on music?
Yeah, Walker, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. Kind of going back to what Ashton said, just to get a little bit more of a perspective. What would be our normal streams was, rivers, literally just tunnels of water. And really, I don't think we really knew what direction we wanted to take the radio station in, at least at the time, Jaden and Ashton, because we were still, when I say we, I mean mostly them, because at the time I wasn't directly a part of it, but we didn't know where we wanted to take it. And then so after, because used to these musicians would casually play up on stages and stuff, and really every event, every local event got halted by that. And I remember Jaden and Ashton just saying, we really need to bring these local guys in. That way they can have not only a chance, but of getting their outcry out there of how they were affected and where they are now. Because I don't know, as far as the radio station, it's really much build a community, and I feel like that's a very strong reason of why you have these local diners. And even before the flood, even before anything else, and I can tell you this from personal hand, every porch would have a radio on it. And I know some of them, it enjoyed it so much they would do surround sounds on the porch outside. So literally you would go into a little holler field and you would even hear the radio outside your car. So you stepping out, you would just hear the radio, or at least that's how it was at least that's how it was in my kind of in my grandparents' driveway.
So you kind of have this sense of community. You feel connected to those around you versus somebody that's streaming a playlist that's completely disconnected. They're just listening to music just for the sake of music. This is more of a, which is so interesting in music, that you can be a part of the music community but feel a sense of connection to the community. And I think that in itself is so beautiful, that separates streaming services versus radio stations. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and to kind of give you that perspective with the flood, and as you had mentioned with the radio station, there was a few radio stations in the surrounding area. Some of you may have heard of Apple Shop. Apple Shop is something that's also located in Whitesburg, very huge on preserving Appalachian history and especially Appalachian music, Mount music history. They're located right in downtown Whitesburg. And Whitesburg, where they're built right beside of a bridge. And when the flood happened, it really destroyed that building. And it was an older building anyway. And it was just destroyed. I mean, archives of old Appalachian performances were just, old tapes were just destroyed. So we lost more than just buildings and foundations. We lost history of our local region, and especially our local music scene history. And where the station is, where we are, we're right on top of a mountain. If the water would have been touching where we were, the whole county would have been underwater because we're so high up. So, the only thing that bothered us was the gravel and the road was destroyed. But considering what happened everywhere else, we were blessed. We were lucky. It was just that perspective. We're right on the hill, and I think that's a huge reason. I mean, the radio tower is sitting on top of a hill. You can see it from just about anywhere you are in the town, and it's just that's something that really helped us. And though we were off air for quite a bit, something that a lot of people did was, during that time, people would just drive and ask people for help, and people would just go and play music for those who were like cleaning, because the music was something that a lot of people wanted to hear at that time, because music is something that brings our community together, and it always has. And being in Appalachia, people grew up listening to music and playing music because that's just what everyone did. It was more common than sports, at that time. Now I'm not so sure the demographic on that, but back then, my grandparents told me stories how they could just walk to the next house over and they'd have their own jam session from house to house. So music is just something that's been very important to that region, and that was important to the healing, was people playing music. And we even tried to organize a benefit where we would give things out to people who needed it, like, just toilet paper or food or things that people didn't have. And we had talked to a bunch of local musicians to come play, but unfortunately it rained again, so we didn't get to have it. But music really brought us together. Even a lot of famous musicians came by, Tyler Childers, Chris Stapleton. So music is just very important in the town of Whitesburg.
So Whitesburg, you were telling me that you sometimes go to California, and when you go to California, you get to meet other people kind of similar background.
Yeah.
And they said that you're famous.
Yeah.
So Whitesburg, Kentucky is a staple or an epicenter of radio.
Yeah, absolutely. And with those trips to California, I work for and with the County Community Center. Another thing they do is called the Levitt Amp Whitesburg Music Series. Great music series. There's one in Berea too, and there's one in Middlesboro. Kentucky has 3 Levitt Amps, and Levitt Amp is a foundation that was founded in Los Angeles, bringing small musicians, growing musicians, to underused public spaces. So one of the big things with Levitt Amp is bringing this concert series into smaller towns, smaller regions, to bring growing artists to play in public spaces that aren't getting used very much. And so when Cowan brought that to Whitesburg, it was something that everybody loved. It's free music every Thursday night of the summer for 10 concerts straight every Thursday. And Levitt is a huge thing to me, especially. It really changed my life. It really is a great concert series, and that's founded in California. And we have yearly conventions where they my first year going was this past January, but every January they have a convention, talk about new things in the Levitt program. And we took a trip over to California, and people were just blown away by the things we were doing, and we would tell them where we were from, and they were just like, wow, you guys are doing a lot of great things. And I'm talking like Utica, New York, and like Alaska. And places like that, like Texas. They were all complimenting us on the things we were doing. And that's just a really great thing. And the County Community Center has done a lot for us, especially in music in the county. And I actually run a concert series in conjunction with the County Community Center at our local farmers market, where I also bring local musicians in to play for the farmers market every Saturday from early May to late October.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. That's something you kind of threw in there. Also, just to point out something very interesting before we started the show, I found out that Howard Stern had called the radio station, and kind of as a joke. Now, because of copyright, we're not going to show this, but tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think these guys know too much about that, so I'll speak on that. My mom told me a story. I don't even know how long ago it was, because I had mentioned Howard Stern, and she was like, "Yeah, you better not bring that name up at the station." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Well, he's kind of gave us some hassle." And she told me this story, and what I remember vaguely in the little video I watched before while we were talking about it, kind of gave me some more background. Is we had this thing called Swap Shop. It ended when COVID happened, where people would just like call in and swap things. Like, hey, I've got my truck for sale. Call this number if you're interested. Or hey, I've got like a lawnmower I'm looking to trade for an acoustic guitar. Just stuff like that. Anything out of the ordinary. And there was this guy who would call. And we're from Appalachia, so our ways of doing things and our ways of talking and our ways of living are kind of unnatural and different to people like Howard Stern. And
Yeah.
so he had heard one of these fellers come on. He's like, "How you doing, buddy? It's been a good day. I've got this something other for sale." I know a lot of people talk like that. I grew up talking like that, and I always thought it was normal. So when people would ag at it, I was like, "Well, that's how everybody talks." But Howard apparently thought that was hilarious. So this guy had called asking for somebody's name to, "Hey, give me a call. You said you were interested in this. I want to know if you're interested in it still," something like that. So Beetlejuice actually called this guy and was like, "Hey, I'm, whoever you needed." And he's like, "Hey, you still got that four-wheeler for sale," or something like that. And they agged at him, and they were just poking fun at the way he talked and the way he was. And I think by the end of the day, they had aggravated this poor Appalachian feller to death, but not many folks could say they got aggravated by Beetlejuice and Howard Stern. So if it was me, I would feel pretty good. But we're definitely out there, in interesting ways. We're out there.
I personally would feel more insulted they sent the Whack Pack after him. It wasn't even Howard Stern himself, it was the Whack Pack they sent after him.
Yeah.
That's the part that I think is worse.
Beetlejuice is definitely his own celebrity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is so amazing, and the work you guys are doing is fantastic. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity, if you have any closing thoughts about, or maybe things that we haven't talked about that you might want to let our audience know more about the radio station, or about the music that you're trying to bring to the community.
Yeah, and I'll start it. We can go down the line. Is just want to kind of advertise a few things. We've with the music we talked about, we have so many opportunities for music, especially in the summer. The Levitt Amp Whitesburg Music Series, you can look it up online on Facebook, on Instagram. We've got our lineup already posted. First show is May 30th, and actually a local guy here is one of our openers for Rob Ikes and Trey Hensley, fantastic musicians. Pam Perry is going to open up with her band, and so she's a local gal from here in Richmond. She's played with Johnny Cash, and she's a legend on her own. She'll be coming from here to play that for us. So definitely come check that out. We've also got a thing with County Community Center called the Cowan Creek Mount Music School, where you can come learn. It's a week-long school. You can learn how to play old traditional tunes. They'll teach you banjo, fiddle, stand-up bass, acoustic guitar, teach you old bluegrass tunes, and really fun. And also, like I said, the Farmers Market Music Series. That's more if you're just looking to buy produce. It's a great way to connect with local Kentucky farmers. It's just coming to Whitesburg. I can guarantee, especially in the summer, you won't be disappointed. But thank you again for having us. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm going to pass it over to Walker for his closing thoughts.
Man, I know you talked about coming to Whitesburg, and one thing I encourage you to definitely look at when you're on the roads is look at people's porches and stuff, because it will really surprise me if you don't see anyone playing music down there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, and definitely the ugly. But
Yeah.
Overall, Whitesburg is my little star. I mean, it really is. It's my little home, and I've enjoyed it, and it's given so much opportunity. And I encourage anyone to go. I really do.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the final thing I have to say is anybody out there meet Jaden, try to be his friend. You get a lot of connections and you get a lot of stuff out of it. Yeah. But no, me and Jaden, we've been doing a lot of stuff together for the last few years, in either music or the radio show, and I have a lot of fun with them in general. I mean, I wouldn't have come down here and visit with them if I didn't love them so much. I hope more people would listen on our show. Anybody can listen to 103.9's app, can't they?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. 103.9 FM, the Bulldog WXKQ. You can download the app, and you can link me up on Facebook, Jaden Wright, and I'd be happy to send it to you myself and send you our website. So definitely check that out. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Do you know what time we might be starting the show this year?
Yeah, so it's really we usually start the show around June. I can say that probably the first week or the second week of June is usually when we start. It just really depends on first of all getting the show ready, and depends on the Levitt Amp music series, because we do work that, and I like to be able to focus on that first, and then have some leeway as it gets started to work on the show. So I'd say it'd probably be the second week or the first week of June is when we'll start it. And bring that up too. Me and Ashton love music. We're recording a little EP right now. Me and Ashton and Walker have all wrote songs together. We love it, and so definitely check it out. Jaden Wright, Jaden. So I know it's a weird way to spell my name, but check it out. We've got some cool original music that definitely showcases our Appalachian home. So check it out.
That's I just want to say thank you guys for being here and making sure, like, what you don't see is these little steps that we take in the community, just these little interviews to make sure that people are noticed, and what you are doing and what you're providing the culture of Kentucky. No words can express it. So I just want to say thank you to all three of you for being here and for letting us give you guys some time to talk about what your mission is and what you're doing. This is So Let's Talk About Music. We will see you next time, and next time will probably be in the fall. So enjoy your summer, and until then, we will see you back here in Richmond, Kentucky at Eastern Kentucky University. Thank you very much.